Hey, welcome back. Now we will look at different types of cognitive distortions. In the earlier video, we have looked at dysfunctional thinking and how we tend to distort our mindset. Now that reflects in our language as well. It reflects in our thoughts. Because of that mindset, it reflects in our thoughts and hence it reflects in our emotions and hence behavior. So let's look at different types of cognitive distortions. As you can see on the screen, there are so many. Okay, and then we have the next slide as well. So the first one is all or nothing, black or white. Okay, it's either this way or that way. I mean, he's done nothing for me till today, or she is a bad person. Okay, or this person does not know his work at all. Such stuff. So it's either this or that, and suddenly when the impression about that person changes, oh, he's the most lovely person in the world. Okay, so it the first type is all or nothing cognitive distortion. Next one is overgeneralization, which means a negative event is a never-ending pattern of defeat. Let's say you have one uh, bad experience, let's say in a presentation. Now, in that presentation, if it didn't go well or you didn't get the right response, somebody might just overgeneralize it and say, well, I'm never going to be a good public speaker. Okay, that's overgeneralization. Sometimes somewhat similar to all or nothing. Then you have mental filter. You dwell on negatives and ignore the positives. So you only focus on the negative part of your life. I mean, everybody goes through certain difficult time, and there are some people who only focus on the difficult times. Like, for example, yes, there was a time when I lost my job, or I lost my loved one, or even small things that nobody was giving me any importance. They'll only focus on that and continue saying that I'm not a credible person at all, or only miseries are what are there in my life. Why did I come on this planet only to experience miseries? So that's the mental filter. Some people dwell on the negatives and ignore the positives. Another one is discounting the positives. So whatever you have achieved in your life, you don't consider that as an achievement. It's as if it does not count. So you must have, right from childhood, you must have won some running race. Maybe you scored full marks in your exam. Even in college, you must have performed very well on the stage or even in academics. In your job, you must have got some awards, or it doesn't have to be only awards, but let's say you won, you were able to get a prospective client, win a prospective client, such things. Now, there are multiple positives that have happened in everybody's life. There are negatives also which have happened in people's lives, but sometimes some people either they only dwell on negatives, or like in this case, discounting the positives, they don't consider positives at all as their achievement. Next is jumping to conclusions. That is mind reading or fortune telling. Oh, I am going to land up in hell after I get married. Okay, so even in relationships for that matter. I mean, I've now that, and it's not only about themselves, it could be about other people. Now that you are going out with this girl, that means you are going to be full of misery, or oh, you're going to have a kid. Your life is over. You're going to get into that rat race of taking care of the kid and earning money only for the kid and stuff like that. People say all sort of things. In fact, I'm just giving you a few examples. Y'all can, I'm sure, y'all can think of various such examples said by other people in your life, or maybe even you've said certain statements in your life. Then one is magnification or minimization. So that's like you blow things way out of proportion, or you shrink their importance inappropriately. Like that. Let's say you're late, okay, to come home, and then there's a little bit of that uh, quarrel between you and your spouse, and then you magnify it. You say that, oh, you think that I am of no use at all, and I'm useless, and whatever I do, I should be condemned to hell. That's magnification. Okay. A lot of time, and I'll share with you some more examples later when we look at various how you can use CBT to change your thoughts. We'll have some, you'll see some tables, how you can help the client with those tables to change their thoughts and change their emotions. Well, moving ahead, emotional reasoning. You reason from how you feel. Like, for example, I feel like an idiot. I really must be one. Or I don't feel like doing this. I must just put it off. It's like you're only responding to only the emotions. A lot of times I tell people that emotions are important because that is the source of your motivation. But at the same time, rationality, practicality, logic, analysis, that is also important. Anytime you take any decision, it has to be a good balance of logic and emotions. Yeah. Should statements. You criticize yourself or other people with shoulds or shouldn'ts, musts, oughts, or have tos. Okay. I should be a very organized person, which is a good thing. But it's like I should not indulge with too many people when I'm working. Okay. Or these are certain rules that you apply in your life. Another like if one simple example of should, now that we've got a daughter-in-law at home, she should take care of the kitchen, she should do this, she should do this, she should not wear such clothes, or she should only wear such clothes. These should statements actually kind of are pretty big distortions, so not only for yourself but for other people as well. Labeling. Well, you identify your shortcomings with a label. So instead of saying I made a mistake, you tell yourself that I'm a jerk or a fool or an idiot. Okay. So sometimes we give ourselves labels, sometimes we give other people labels as well. But in reality, if you just ask yourself that, am I really a fool in all areas of life? Well, the answer that you'll get is of absolutely not. Okay. So hence that label is a cognitive distortion. Personalization and blame. You personalize everything for yourself. You blame yourself for something you weren't entirely responsible for, or you blame other people, overlook ways that your own attitudes and behaviors might contribute to the problem. So it's like, what I'm doing is completely correct, what other people are doing is wrong, and hence they are disorganized people, they are frustrating people, stuff like that. So that's personalization and blame. They are not doing it properly, hence I'm not able to. Or I have been never serious in my life, hence I have landed where I am. Well, again, that is not true. You've been serious at some point of time in life, isn't it? Well, so these are different types of cognitive distortions. Now, the important part is that you should be able to untwist your thinking. And by untwist, we mean that whenever there is this cognitive distortion, it has to be sorted out. It has to be untwisted. It the model of the world or the mindset has to be loosened up. Now, how do you do that? It's very important that this untwisting happens, because if the untwisting does not happen, then the mindset is not a very healthy mindset. With that unhealthy mindset, then you have all these mental issues like anxiety and depression and OCDs and PTSDs, all of that. ADHD, or not so much ADHD, but kind of things are linked with each other, aren't they? Sometimes because of ADHD, some people just feel so bad that, oh, I don't have focus, and hence I'm good for nothing. Hence they start going towards depression. That's the thing. Well, untwisting can be done in various ways. First of all, identify your distortion. Okay. And this is something which I tell a lot of people who are going through a lot of mental issues, especially like anxiety, depression, etc. That write down your negative thoughts and check which cognitive distortions you are involved in. You might not check exactly which cognitive distortion it is, but if you are able to identify, then very good. But now that you've written your negative thoughts, first of all, examine the evidence. That instead of assuming your negative thoughts to be true, examine the actual evidence for it. What evidence do I have that this is going to be true or this is true? And most of the times you'll realize that you don't have any evidence and it's just a thought process. Then you look for the double standard method. What that means is, instead of putting yourself down in a harsh condemning way, talk to yourself in the same compassionate way you would talk to a friend in a similar situation. A lot of times I've seen that people are not very kind towards themselves. They are kind to other people. If the friend is going through some issues, they are very good. I mean, they are very compassionate. Oh, don't worry, it will be fine. How do you know that this is going to be true, etc., etc. But people don't use that same technique on themselves. So you should use that for yourself as well. Just dissociate yourself from the problem and talk to yourself and give yourself that same kind of support. Hence, it's called the double standard method. Now, the next one is experimental technique. Now, what do you mean by that? So, for example, you're believing that something bad is going to happen. Okay. Just do an experiment and test the validity of your negative thought. Like, for example, in case of a panic attack, if you feel that you're going to die of a heart attack, okay, just stand up straight and walk for some distance. If possible, run and contradict your thoughts with your actions. Now, obviously, I am saying this because there are a lot of people who have their health. There's no problem with the health, okay, and the heart is fine, but they just have these panic attacks that something is going to happen to me. There's no evidence that something is really bad going on with the health. There's actually no evidence. So now what you do is you actually challenge your thoughts by doing something in the opposite direction. Hence it's called the experimental technique. Okay. So let's say when you are nervous about some event in the future. Okay. And so you just ask yourself that what am I fearing that this will happen, something will happen, and do exactly the same thing. And you'll realize that what I was fearing is not really true. Okay. Next one is thinking in the shades of gray. So when things don't work out as well as you hoped, think about the experience as a partial success. Well, everything was not 100% wrong. You can take some positives out of it, isn't it? Even when in any game, if some team loses the match, they still take out some positives from that match. That yes, we lost the match, but we had a couple of players who played very well, and we would take those positives into the next match. Well, we gave a good fight. Unfortunately, ended up at the losing as the losing side, but that fight that we put up really gave us confidence that okay, in the next match we are going to do much better. So think in the shades of gray. Okay. And then you have survey method. Sometimes you can ask other people if they have the same thoughts and whether they feel the same as you are feeling, and then ask them, and are these thoughts or and this attitude, is it real, is it realistic? Because when you talk to other people, when they tell you that yeah, I mean, we have the same fear, but actually it is not realistic, we are just overthinking, or we are just assuming certain things to be true. Next one is define terms. So when you label yourself as a loser or a fool or an idiot, ask yourself what is the definition of a fool. And you will feel better when you realize that actually there is no such thing as an absolute fool or a loser. Okay. So whenever you are giving yourself a label and it's a negative label, just ask yourself that am I like this in all areas of life? And the answer obviously is no. So then you go away from that label. Then you have the semantic method. So this method helps in should statements. Instead of telling yourself I shouldn't have made that mistake, you can say it would have been better if I hadn't made that mistake. It's just using different words so that the effect of that sentence is not very strong. It doesn't put you down. Okay, so I mean, compare these two statements that I shouldn't have made that mistake versus it would have been better if I hadn't made that mistake. And again, the tone with which you speak to yourself is also very important, because the soft, I mean, if your tone is softer, you don't, it doesn't pinch you as much, isn't it? So simply substitute the language that is less colorful and emotionally loaded. Okay. Reattribution, another technique, or other another way of untwisting the thinking. Instead of automatically assuming that you are bad and blaming yourself entirely for the problem, think about many factors that may have attributed to it. So, you are not the only person because of which you didn't get the deal. There were other people playing as well. Other people were working, and there was this external situation was there. The market is there. I mean, when COVID lockdown started, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people lost a lot of money in their business, and a lot of them started going into depression, anxiety, panic attacks, etc., etc. And most of the times, I would see that they are blaming themselves. But you see, you don't see that there has been this external factor. And okay, COVID happened. We none of us knew about it that we are going to go into a lockdown. Yeah. So think about that. Okay, yes, I could have done something differently, but you see, there were certain things which were not in my control, and then you start feeling better. And then cost benefit analysis. Well, having this thought, this intrusive negative thought, what is it going to do for me? Yeah, or what advantages does this negative thought have, and what are the disadvantages? If you really think about it, realistically, I'm holding to this negative thought, and actually, it's not doing any good to me. In fact, there are more disadvantages than the advantages. Once you do this cost benefit analysis, then you kind of change your thoughts and start thinking differently. Like, sometimes these negative, and they don't have to be out and out negative thoughts. It can be like, I must always try to be perfect. Okay, well, that is not possible all the time, isn't it? So think of the cost benefit analysis. Am I really going to be able to be perfect all the time? Maybe not. And if I'm not perfect, then obviously I'm going to feel bad. So why don't I just think in this way, that there are more disadvantages of having that thought? Why don't I just think about, let me just give it my best, and let's see what happens, and let me learn from whatever is happening. Okay. So now that you know how to untwist your cognitive distortions, after understanding what are cognitive distortions, look at how you can fight dysfunctional thoughts. Some examples which I've so you can see two columns over there. One is the thoughts, and the second one is the cool thoughts. Hot thoughts are like, he's always mean to me. What could be the cool thought? Maybe he's had a bad day. I did a lousy job. Hot thought. Cool thought, I'll be better next time. I've learned, I'll be better next time. I deserve better. Hot thought. But people are people. Sometimes we just get what we deserve at certain point in time. Sometimes there are external factors which don't really give us what we truly deserve. And this is not the end of the day. Maybe I'll try again tomorrow. Okay, it's not fair. Well, life is not fair. Okay, or nothing is perfect actually in life, and if it was perfect, then we would have been at a different place altogether. That's how you have these cool thoughts, or something like that jerk. Uh, well, it's his problem. It's not. That is a situation, and that is not my situation. So why should I trouble myself? Okay, they are driving me crazy. Well, then just don't go out with them. Don't accept the ride. Okay, so this is some examples of how you fight with your dysfunctional thoughts. Now, let me give you a nice example. Now, what we've learned till now, and kind of collating all those learnings in this particular table that you see. Now let's say the situation is somebody fought with the spouse, with that person's spouse. What is the emotion? Angry, sad. That anger is at 99%. I have felt sad 50%. And the automatic thought, now I've already spoken to you about automatic thought earlier. These are the thoughts which come automatically without you actively thinking. These are the thoughts that come into your head. So the automatic thought is that I'll never have a normal marriage, or I deserve better, or he's stubborn, she's stubborn, etc. But then these automatic thoughts are kind of cognitive distortions. What kind of cognitive distortions? So I'll never have a normal marriage is magnification. I deserve better is entitlement, or he's stubborn is labeling. Obviously, if you hold on to these thoughts, your emotions are not going to decrease in terms of percentage, okay, rather the intensity. So the rational thought would be, well, it's not the end of the world. I've just had a fight. It's not the end of the world. We can mend it. Another rational thought could be that, well, that's normal. People just fight, isn't it? Every marriage has some sort of friction, or things like maybe he had a bad day. Now you have a rational response, and you untwist your thought, and what you come out with is, lower intensity of the, or maybe some other positive intention you end up with. So in this case, anger is reduced to 50% and sadness is reduced to 10%. Maybe you feel a little relieved also, you feel a little calm. So those positive emotions also start coming up. Okay. So before we go into the next video, I'm going to give you a small activity to do. Just think of various situations in your life which put you in a negative state, okay, or an unresourceful state. Make a list of all those situations, and exactly according to this table, just look at how you can change your automatic thoughts into a rational response, and hence reduce the intensity of the negative emotion. This is a very important activity because in a lot of ways it is going to result in a major breakthrough in your life, especially when it comes to emotional wellness. Yeah. So please do this, and I'll come back with my next video.